Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Moxxie podcast. My name is Michelle, and I am so glad that you're here today. We are going to be talking about self value. But before we do that, I wanted to just make a couple announcements. My normal thank you so much for being here. I do greatly appreciate it. The podcast is growing, and I love the idea that there are more people out there every day who are learning to use the tarot in a way that supports them and is available um, as a way to tap in and get some answers when we are having challenges. So I'm really, really thankful that more and more people have been joining us. Welcome. Secondly, just a reminder that I am still looking for people to help me pilot some new courses. And there is a sign up sheet on the Moxxie Coaching website, and actually a really obnoxious one that pops right up in your face. So if that is something you're interested in doing, that would be a no charge opportunity to take the class, to receive all of the class materials in exchange for honest feedback about how well you learned. Do you feel like you learned what you were supposed to learn? Did the information make sense? Was everything organized in a way that is user friendly? So that's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking at that primarily for my course that's coming up. I'm actually working on it right now. And this course is called Building the Tarot, or Building Tarot Meanings. And it is a system that I've created by which anyone can use a card formula that I've created to find the answer to the meaning of any card. And I will give you more information about that, but it's a really cool, simple system using a deck that I created that I would send to you that is designed to help you build these tarot card meanings. And this course is designed for very beginners who are interested in learning the meanings of the tarot cards. You know, we've talked about those who do, those who don't. This is for those of you who do. And I think, because this is the first time I've tried this, but I think that this will be a way to speed up the learning. And so I want some people to work with me and play with it, see how it works, and let me know if that's the case. So if it is, then we can share that with everyone else. So if you are interested in helping me pilot that, I would greatly appreciate it. And again, that information is over on the Moxxie Coaching website. The last announcement is a reminder that I will be participating in a women's summit called Bringing Spirituality Home. Registration opens on August 22nd, and the summit goes live on September 10th, and it runs over a number of consecutive days. It's designed for people who basically want to connect with their soul, learn to connect in a way that maybe they haven't connected before. There will be over, I think they said 40 people presenting. And so you're going to run into everything from very logical, very traditional things out to the more woo, hence the tarot. So if that's something that you are interested in, just put a little, reminder on your calendar for August 22nd. I do not have the login information yet. I don't have the actual link, so I can't provide that to you. But when I do, I will send that to you as well. And I would love to see you at that free summit if you are interested in exploring some additional ways to cultivate some soul growth on this journey of yours. So we're talking about this concept basically of recognizing our own value. And I want to tell you the story about how this episode came to be. Now, if you're a regular listener of the podcast, you know that I put out a call a few weeks ago on social media and on the podcast looking for women in their 60s and 70s. And I was looking for everyday women, your next door neighbor, your great grandmother, the lady at the cash register at the grocery store. Looking for regular women who wanted to share some pearls of wisdom with the rest of us. I realized not too long ago that I really have learned a thing or two in my years on the planet, and was just thinking about, gosh, what if I had known these things, 30 years ago? What would my life look like now if I had known these things? If I had even conceived of some of these things? And then I got to thinking, it's like, well, why don't we find some people who have some of that type of information who can share it with those of us who are younger? And maybe a few of us will be actually smart enough to listen and, integrate their wisdom into our lives. There are so many things that if I had known them earlier, may have led me down different paths. And at the very least, I think these things that I know now would have made my life a little bit easier, would have left me in a more confident and capable feeling when I was floundering for so many years. So I was really excited about this idea and got thinking that maybe I could use the podcast as a platform to just bring some of these stories to the forefront, bring some of these stories to you, to me. We don't have the old grandmother wisdom like a lot of older civilizations did. And we don't value our elderly the way we should. And so I think that there's so much wisdom that is lost when we devalue people when they get to a certain age. So I was really excited about highlighting some of the sparkle in this demographic that is either invisible or ignored or I don't want to, like, swatted away. And I've seen it so many times myself, just watching people interact with the elderly. And anyway, so that's that. Okay, so now I put my thing out, wanted everybody to come. I wanted to talk to all of these people. Well, I had one person contact me, and she's actually a friend of mine. So, what's going on? Where are all of the smart and strong and wise women out there? I mean, I did meet a few people, a few other podcasters who wanted to come on and share their stories, and I will be interviewing a few of them because they had valuable things that they can share with you. But most of the people that reached out really were just interested in promoting themselves, not in sharing the wisdom that I was hoping to have cultivated and shared. I did have a few people nominate people they know. So, you have got to talk to so and so. Oh my word, this guy wanted his wife to come on, and he was just oozing admiration for this woman and all of the things that she had done in her life, and thought, she was somebody that should come on and she should share with us. Well, I never heard from her. So what the heck is going on? I don't get this. And then I started to think, well, what would I say? If somebody asked me, come on and share your wisdom. My point being, I don't think a lot of us recognize our own greatness. I think there are a lot of us who don't recognize it. I think there are a lot of us who intermittently recognize it. I think there are some of us who don't even recognize that they have it. And so to invite women, and I'm generalizing here, but the majority of whom aren't out there telling everybody else how freaking great they are, they're just doing what they need to do. Either they don't recognize how awesome they are, or society has told them that all of the things that make them awesome aren't of equal value to some other things. This friend of mine who is brilliant has led a quiet life. And what she says, well, I would love to. I'll try. I don't know what I would talk about, but I would love it. This is a woman who beat cancer twice, who taught in Mexico and in the United States for at least 30 years, who lived abroad for years, who has some stories to tell. Even if those stories are just from, quote, everyman perspective. That's what I was looking for. Now, something that came up is this idea of the older woman being invisible. And, well, this is an interesting thought that I just had as I'm sitting here pondering things and looking at my notes. And in my notes, I wanted to talk about how as we age, as we become less attractive to the general society, our value decreases. And so we have kind of have a double whammy. We have our value decreasing because our perceived level of attractiveness is declining. And not everyone, but a lot of women have either been put in or stayed in or didn't know they could get out of this subjugated space. And I'm not saying subjugated like, real subjugation, like, racial stuff or anything like that. I'm just talking about just how women have been treated for years and how so many things have changed, but in some generations and for some people, nothing has changed. So I got thinking about it, and and this is from my perspective. I am not one of these absolutely gorgeous women who is crushed because men are not looking at me anymore. But I've been considered a reasonably attractive woman. And while I actually really love not giving a shit anymore, and not really even considering men as a gender other than my husband as, I don't know, they just are. I have no interest in pleasing them. I have no interest in pissing them off. They just are, right? They're just like people. So kind of what I'm trying to get at is, as someone who had a certain level of that, you walk down the street and somebody thinks you're attractive and they're annoying or whatever, I was also able to use that to my advantage sometimes once I got flipping smart enough to recognize that I was semi-attractive. And I'm not talking, completely obnoxiously, but it did give me advantages. It gave me, and it, in a ass backwards way, it gave me confidence, which now, as I age, right, is systematically being sucked away. So, not really, but you see what I'm saying. So, we have those women, right? Those women who are used to getting attention, who are used to, and maybe not for the reason they want, but used to getting attention, used to maybe even learning to use it to their advantage. And now when they don't have that advantage anymore, that's got to be a real mind blower, right? I mean, just to suddenly become, just like somebody else's mom. Oh, you're just the mom, wearing your mom pants and whatever. So, and that's the people that started out with a shitload of confidence. Now, what about the regular folks? What about the rest of us who weren't the gorgeous ones, who struggled with this or struggled with that and had low self esteem, but throughout the course of their lives built it on character and fortitude? All of those women never even got the chance to be noticed. I hope this is coming out right. Never really got the chance to be noticed in the way other women did. And they went about their business and they did their thing and they were freaking amazing. Those are the people I want to talk to. And my point being, especially as we get older, we become less valuable. We have less perceived value in society. And so as we have less perceived value, does that impact our sense of self, our sense of personal value, our sense of worth? And if it does, what can we do about it? So, what I wanted to do is a reading, a sample reading for learning to recognize our own amazingness, our own greatness, our own mojo. What I did is I was going to do the reading for myself, and then I thought, no, yeah, I love you guys, but I'm not going to get that vulnerable with you just yet. And then I thought about doing a celebrity, but that just didn't feel right. So I landed on Eyore from Winnie the Pooh. Because Eyore doesn't really have a lot of self-confidence. Eyore is, I don't know if it's become an adjective yet, an official one, but very Eyore-ish. I've known people in my life who've been very Eyore-ish. And Eyore has some awesome things going for him, and he just doesn't realize it. So he is the one for whom we are doing a tarot reading this week. Now, this can be done two ways. You can do this as a traditional tarot reading, which is what I'm going to be doing, where you do not know what cards you have. You're flipping the cards over and interpreting the cards. But you could also do this if you are someone who is just learning the tarot. You can do this by looking at and for cards that resonate with you and choose those cards from the deck of face up cards. And the readings kind of end up a little bit differently. It is, I think, a lot easier to tap into our subconscious when we're able to read the cards from a little bit more of a traditional perspective. But if not, you can glean an awful lot about what's going on with yourself by simply choosing cards that resonate and then really examining those cards for how they make you feel, what you see, what it brings up to you, what your intuition says. Okay, So let's get started. A reading for Eyore to help him recognize his awesomeness. First card is a signifier. And what I want you to do is choose a signifier that represents you, how you're feeling right now. How you're feeling, not how society perceives you, not how your partner perceives you, not even how you perceive yourself, not even the persona that you've created for yourself. Just bare bones, how are you feeling and which card represents you? The second card is a card that represents how Eeyore's subconscious sees him. The third card represents things that Eyore is good at or gifts he has to offer. The next card is a card that represents barriers to Eyore recognizing his own greatness. And then lastly is a card that will help support Eyore as he learns to value himself. And clearly I'm being a little silly here, but I think it serves a couple purposes. It doesn't personalize this and put anybody on the hook or embarrass anybody. Most people are not super willing to have public readings done of stuff that's this deep. But it helps. I'm hoping it helps because I hate to just give you the card positions and the card associations. I think that if one of the goals of what we're doing here is for you to learn how to use the tarot for yourself, then you need some sample readings. And that's kind of what I'm trying to accomplish as we do these. Eyore chose as a signifier the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups card has a crow looking at a cup that is being offered to him. He is standing on or above 3 other cups. In the Rider-Waite deck, this is what looks like a teenage boy with his arms crossed and a petulant look on his face as, the mysterious tarot hand tries to hand him a cup. And his attitude is just this really low energy, not really comfortable with anything, not really happy about anything, maybe even actively a little bit unhappy, a little bit pouty, kind of what I would say if you've ever had kids. Those times when your kid is just annoyed as all get out and all they want to do is go in their room and pretend you don't exist. So that's Eyore right now. How about a card to represent how his subconscious is seeing him? Right? Eeyore's feeling blue. He's feeling down. He doesn't feel good about himself. He doesn't recognize the talents that he has. And this reading is designed to help him recognize some of those things. So a card to represent how Eeyore's subconscious sees him. I love this. King of Wands. So you have, oh, poor me, Eyore. And on the King of Wands card, this card in particular, the King of Wands is a card of powerful male, masculine energy. Not sexual energy so much, but just power and energy and potential energy. You talk about potential energy and kinetic energy. The King of Wands is just this very potentially powerful character. Because he is the King of Wands, he is all about action, getting things done, being in control. Just this very capable, confident, no nonsense dude. And the King of Wands in this card, which I just love for Eyore, is a lion, right? So he's got this rawr lion that his subconscious interprets him as being. So Eeyore's got a little fire in the belly. Now, the next card is a card to represent things that Eyore is good at, or gifts that he has to offer that maybe he needs a reminder of, or maybe doesn't even recognize in himself. The card that came up for him is another court card, and it is the Page of Cups. So cups, as you well know, are about emotion and intuition and creativity. Pages, as you know, are the youngest member of the tarot court. They are typically considered an adolescent energy. And this card has this energy of pages are like the beginnings of things, the initiators of things. And so it's like he has this very creative, but a little bit naive energy that he can bring to things if he allows himself to see that in himself. It's been a long time since I've watched Winnie the Pooh, really long time, or read any of the books. But I know that Eyore has good characteristics. One of the most is she's just extremely loyal and dependable. And that's not necessarily something that you would think would jive with coming up with the Page of Cups, right? So we think of him as low energy, dependable. I would have expected, if I was going to pick a court card for him, I'd probably pick the Knight of Pentacles, just the real steady, reliable one. But what he got is this card. So somewhere in Eeyore's essence, in Eeyore's being, he has this possibility of some creativity somewhere, some loosening up of his uptightness, which I think is just lovely for Eyore. Now, what card is representing a barrier to him recognizing his own greatness? We have the Four of Swords here. The Four of Swords is often a card that comes up as a reminder that it is time for us to be resting before we step back into the fray. So in terms of barriers, how could this card represent a barrier to Eeyore's recognizing his own awesomeness? Well, I think that this card, in relationship to this question, and in relationship to our querent, Eyore, I think that this card is telling him that it's time to wake up from this peaceful, restful time that he's had. It's time for him. He's had his opportunity to rest, and it's time for him now to stand up, embody who he's going to be, and go out and tackle the things that are getting in the way of him being great. So, remember that this card is about resting before getting up. So basically this card is saying it's time, enough rest, Time to get up. Hep, off the bed. Get your butt in gear, get out there, and start recognizing your own greatness. You have got to get out. You have got to put yourself out there um, and see where that takes you. And then lastly, we have a card that will help Eyore and support him on this journey as he learns to value himself. And we have the Ace of Cups, which is just lovely. So the Ace of Cups is a card of new, creative, emotional, vital, nourishing energy. And aces are very beginnings, right? Remember that. They're here. It's a temporary energy that we have available to us that we can use to move something forward in the direction of whichever ace we've pulled. So since we pulled the Ace of Cups, this is a lot of what I would call potential energy again, for opening up, for more love, for more creativity, for more flow, which goodness knows Eyore could use some flow. And learning to love himself. A reminder to him that there is this energy available to him, that all he has to do, this cup is overflowing with love and compassion. All he has to do is go sip of that cup, and he will begin, hopefully things will begin to shift. He can lean on that energy, that Ace of Cups energy of newness, of excitement, of possibility, and keep that in his mind as he works on himself as a motivating force. So that is Eyore's reading. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope Eyore enjoyed it. But I'm hoping that you get my point here. A lot of what we're going to be doing coming up, now that we have been through all of the tarot curriculum, essentially, is practical applications for the tarot. And this one came up for me because this is something that's come up in my own life. The experience that I shared with you. And I think that while so many people want to use the tarot for fortune telling, divination, and it's super fun to use it for divination, don't get me wrong. It is a blast. But in my opinion, the real value of the tarot, the deep value of the tarot, is in using it for ourselves. And as we go along, and as things like this come up for me, I will put together a spread and share it with you. And we'll just kind of see where things go. All right, everyone, that is it for this week. Thank you as always. Please remember to like and subscribe and do all of those things for the podcast. It does help the podcast. It helps other people find us. Remember too, social media, all of those things. I'm on Pinterest, I'm on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So anywhere, and TikTok. So anywhere you want to find me and connect, I would be happy to do that. All right, have a fantastic week. Take some time, think about your own awesomeness. Take a minute, do this reading, and remind yourself about why and how you rock. All right, everybody, be well. Bye-bye.